Hello and thank you so much for joining me for Season 5, Episode number 30 of On the Road With. This is the show where we talk to touring professionals from the entertainment and performing arts industries about life on the road, mental health in terms of being on the road, how they got started, the people they've worked with, and all sorts of other things as well. My name's Gareth and I'm your host. If you'd like to catch up on all the previous episodes of the show, there's a whole 4 seasons for you to catch up on, 4 and a bit seasons, and you can find those wherever you get your podcast fix. If you like what you're hearing, please don't forget to give us a rating and review. It really, really does help, and I do read out any new reviews at the end of each show as well, so you'll get a little shout out of appreciation on this very show. You can also stream all the commercially available music picked by myself and my guests on the On the Road With Songs playlist on Spotify. Now, today you're in for a treat with this 30th episode of On the Road With. It's a landmark episode for me, and I've got somebody very special for it. A couple of weeks ago, I sat down with John Turrell, one half of the iconic funksters up in the northeast, Smoove and Turrell, one of my favourite bands of the past 10 years. And today, I'm sitting down with Smoove himself, and it's just an awesome conversation. I've really, really enjoyed this one. There's so much in it, it's difficult to summarise in this kind of short intro that we've got here. But we talk about things like ruthlessness within creativity and how important that is. We talk about the ever-changing, finely balanced world of social media content and the challenge of getting that right. Smoove walks us through his journey of being a really young kind of producer and discovering a sampler. Before he discovered the sampler, though, he did some other things, some other creative exploits and performance exploits that might surprise you. So I'll leave that one for you to discover as you listen through. He takes us right through his career. He talks about the inner workings of Smoove and Turrell and the business side. They're just a few of the topics we cover, and it was an absolute joy to make this was. I'd really like to thank Smoove for his time. And I'd also like to thank you for tuning in the last few episodes. They've been record-breaking episodes and really, really encouraging numbers that I'm really, really pleased with. There's also plenty of music in this episode from Smoove's solo career, very early stuff, right through to more recent Smoove and Turrell records and old school Smoove and Turrell as well. So there's a lot to enjoy. It's a bumper episode, so a bit longer than normal, but I think it's worth every minute. I really, really do. All the songs are, of course, listed in the description of this episode, which you can find wherever you get your podcast fix. We're going to be taking a break now after Season 5. This is the last episode, and we will be taking an extended break, but we're going to be coming back with a bang with a really great virtual event, which you don't want to miss. For more information on that, please join the On the Road With group on Facebook. So without further ado, please do grab yourself a cup of tea, sit back and enjoy my conversation with Smoove. Smoove, thanks so much for doing this. Really good to catch up with you again. It's been a number of years. Like I said to John, it was 2014 I think I last saw you, or 2015, sometime around then.
Wow, is it that long? Wow.
It's flown by, isn't it? It really has.
Well,
what a different world at that time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone had tapped you on the shoulder and said, oh, by the way, in a few years this is going to happen, you'd be like, get out of here.
I know. It's crazy. I mean, starting with that, with all the recent goings on, I was speaking to somebody on my radio show recently who's a singer, producer, and a sort of artist producer, and they said to me, to be honest, it's no different because us producers spend all our time in
the studio.
Yeah, within 4 walls anyway. So has that been your experience, or because you perform live a lot as well, you tour a lot, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, at first it was like I was kind of relieved because we toured so hard. Over the last 10 years, constantly, really.
Yeah.
And I was never home, really. So it's, I was recording while we were on the road, you know what I mean? It was
really,
it was that intense.
Right,
yeah, we're recording in between sound checks and stuff in hotel rooms. And
yeah.
So I was kind of relieved in a way to sort of have time off from the road because it does get monotonous, but then having a break was great, but now it's becoming a bit of a joke. But I still am embracing what it is, because the way I look at it is, I mean, this is just my personal thing, but it's a state of mind, if you sort of not block things out, but sort of, just count your blessings that, we still make a living and we can still be productive, you know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. And I think also I was talking to a couple of musicians last night, and we were doing a live stream, and we were, there was a bit of a sort of negative mood in the camp, and I said, lads, look at the news, and you see some of the stories that are coming out, about people losing their kids, not
Yeah.
just kids losing their parents, but
Yeah.
youngsters dying from this as well, from COVID, and you got to think, well, if we can't do a few gigs for a bit, so what? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not the end of the world.
exactly. I mean, I was booking the band a lot before this happened, and venues were ringing me up saying like, "How you doing gigs?" And I was like, "Well, I'm just jumping through hoops and doing them last minute." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just one of those crazy things. You just had to not get down about it, as you say, and just try and stay positive and make the most of what it is, or even what it isn't.
Yeah.
Just like, it was that weird mental thing, like, having such a successful album in such an awkward, like, one of the worst times in history, like,
Yeah,
well, in our lives anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I bet that was a strange feeling, really, because especially the nature of Stratos Bleu is that it is a very danceable album. I mean, those tracks live are going to absolutely take the roof off. I'm sure you guys all felt that when you were doing it, and to not be able to do that must feel really, really odd.
Yeah, it's strange. You make a dance album. I mean, our music is for dancing primarily, but to sort of really stick your neck out and say, right, let's make a dance album, and then not be able to like see people dance, it was a real punch in the face. And it's kind of like, we still dream of that moment. I have a vision in my mind of me, John, and Mike and the lads dancing on a dance floor after a gig in France in a nightclub, and through a massive sound system, and hearing one of our tracks come on. And, and all of us just like crying, that's the vision I've got.
I'm sure that moment will happen, because it will be emotional. It will be emotional, because
absolutely,
and you'll be able to give each other a hug. Can you imagine that? Yeah. It's just like. I've got two ongoing jokes with my wife at the minute, and more than two. We get on better than that. But there's one that's I can hardly contain my fucking excitement. You know, when we talk about should we go for a walk around the park, I go, yeah, I can hardly contain my fucking excitement. And then the other one is what's the other one is talking about if we see something on the telly, like I don't know, a film where they hug or you see some live music where there's an actual proper crowd and, you know, pre-COVID stuff. And I always say to others, that's the stuff of dreams at the minute, you know. But it really is. It's the stuff that we all dream about, isn't it?
Well, in a blessing, like Mike hugs everyone all the time anyway. And,
I know.
Mike does that horrible thing where he like hugs around your neck, so it's like really annoying, you know.
Yeah.
Like almost headlock, you know. And it's just like, Mike, fucking get off. So now he can't do that. It's great.
No, well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because when you guys this is years ago, but it stuck with me. When you guys turned up at Heath's house in Leicester, and we had a meal, didn't we? Me and John were talking about it the other day, and you all got out the van, and I think like you and John cuffed me or shook my hand or whatever. The rest of the lads like nodded, maybe shook my hand, you know, just normal greeting. And Mike,
cool nod.
Yeah, just a nice, you know, just subdued. You know, you're all a bit tired. You just long journey, and then Mike came and gave me that hug you just described.
And the rugby tackle.
Yeah, and I think a few of you just shouted, "Oh, fucking get off him! What are you doing?" Like, you know what I mean? Because you didn't know me that well then. It's like it's the promoter, you dickhead. What are you doing? You know.
I single-handedly blame Mike Porter for spreading COVID. You know. You know, it's just like. Someone said they had a dream, and it was like, it was our van driver Steve. He was saying he had this nightmare where Mike was jumping off the keyboard into the crowd and going to hug people as he does, like when we do gigs, and everyone running away from him. He's gone, "Oh man, you fuckers, come back here! What you made this guy nowhere?"
I could. It wouldn't surprise me if that popped up on YouTube somewhere. It really wouldn't.
Yeah,
I could see it. I could see it. I mean, Mike is you know, as you know, me and John touched on this. Mike is a huge part of what you do. And a minute ago, you said, "Oh, I've got this vision of me, John, Mike, and the lads." And I very much feel sometimes that it's like Smoove and Turrell brackets and Porter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's I mean, and you look on song credits. I've been doing my research, you know, like any good interviewer, and I've been looking on song credits, and he's all over them. Mike Porter, he's a massive part of it creatively. Huge.
Well, to be honest, what happened is I knew Mike. Mike was recording with me and performing with me even before I met John years before. So Mike goes back. In fact, I never ever. This is really funny. I never invited Mike into Smoove and Turrell band. He just turned up. He was always there whenever we were doing something.
Can't get rid of him.
No, he's just like he's just like furniture, you know.
Smoove and
Turrell furniture. But as you say, he is the most integral part in Smoove and Turrell. You know, as far as live goes, and you know, that showmanship, the mascot, the whole, you know, his character. He brings so much to the table, and you know, as John admits, you know, it just allows him to sing and not have to worry about, you know, dancing or stage diving or whatever like it is that Mike does.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's important. Like I said on the interview with John, is that it doesn't always have to be your singer that does all that. And if you're a singer who, I mean, my kind of style singing wise is to be that showman, but not every singer is. And the worst thing is seeing a singer do that when they're uncomfortable with it, and you can tell you can't mask that. Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, though, you know, there's been times when John has got on stage and he feels really uncomfortable, and I can sense it. So I sort of step it up a little bit and sort of start to speak a bit more. But I'm happy actually being more of like behind the scenes or John's sidekick if I need to be there, like just to give him that extra confidence. It's usually only when he first walks out. Once he gets the flow going, he gets his confidence, and then he's fine. But like most singers, in fact, most artists and performers suffer massively from all different levels of stage fright. It's never really spoke about either. I'm really lucky. I don't get it. I don't. To be honest, I think I just don't think about it. Because if you start thinking, it can drive you over the edge. But some people, I mean, I spotted one the other day. I didn't realize that Nile Rodgers, you know, he's wrote a song called Stage Fright. It's a terrible song as well. It really is. Sorry, Niall, but it is. You know, the lyrics are so bad. You know, but maybe he suffered so bad from me. Just thought, oh, I'm gonna have to write a song about this.
Yeah. Well, no, it is. You're right. It's not talked about an awful lot, and people assume that. oh, that's what you do. You perform, you tour, so get on with it.
But when you go on stage, depending how your band's made up, but our bands, it's that like there is a sense of family, and that's really important. Like
I can tell that, yeah.
You can try. Well, I mean, we've had people come and go over the years and return, and it's just one of those things. You've got to look after people, and you've got to make them feel like they are all as valuable as each other, and not like everyone knows that Mike gets the limelight, but they're all comfortable with it because, some people don't like that position. You know what I mean? They just like playing their instrument, so it's not for everyone. You know what I mean? So it's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it is.
Well, they're all listening now going, you bastard, that's so not true.
Exactly.
But no, I definitely...
I want my drums set up at the front of the stage.
Oh, God, yeah. I've got a story about a band that did that. The headline band, for their sound check, he set up the drums in the middle of the stage, and we were supporting, and he wouldn't move them, and we had to do our set around his drums. Ridiculous.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that family feeling with you guys, definitely. And the time that sticks out in my mind is that meal at Heath's. It just felt like a family Sunday dinner.
Yeah, yeah. I know. Well, we've done that a few times, and it did just feel like going round your grand's for Sunday dinner. It was brilliant.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. And like John said, Heath really looks after bands. He's big on that, and I can see why, kind of thing. It definitely goes a long way building those relationships, and that's one of his big strengths. He's great at that.
Oh.
Give you up. I can't give
there is always friction in bands, like anything in life.
Yeah,
You are going to have a clash of personalities, but it's just how we balance that and how we address them and not let things get out of control.
yeah,
Like, sometimes in the past, without mentioning any names, certain people in the band would sort of like box it up and then explode. You know what I mean? And it was not good. So
yeah, yeah,
now I'm always conscious. Like, it's relatively easy now, to be honest. Like, we seem to have got a really good balance with everyone, and I think also it's the fact that like people are drinking less. Well, I say less, but not as crazy. People have matured like slightly.
yeah,
They know the drill now. You know what I mean? And it's like, what people expect, and what being professional is supposed to be, and
yeah, yeah.
all these little elements that all add up. So, yeah. I mean, and also in the funk and soul world, which we are part of,
Mm.
um, it's people talk really quick. So if something has happened in the scene, suddenly everyone knows about it, and so you could be slandered very quickly. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah, yeah.
that can have a detrimental effect on booking you again or whatever. So you got to be careful of these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small world, a very tight knit one as well,
Yeah,
tight knit community, but that can work both ways. Whether if you've done something great, like new record out,
yeah,
you
true,
smashed
true.
it, whatever. But it can also, backfire. I should imagine, big time. So, just talking of that, one thing I picked up on since we started talking is you were saying how you deal with venues directly and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, in the times when I booked you, or I was part of a company that booked you, it was always through a booking agent. So I didn't know that. I knew that you weren't with that booking agent anymore, but I didn't know that you were dealing with things directly. I know myself, that's quite a lot to take on, as well as doing your production and songwriting, all the rest of the stuff that's involved in a band.
It was, and it wasn't as well. Because to be honest, even though we had the agent, I was sort of micromanaging stuff behind the scenes anyway. So
Yeah.
when the agent would say, "Oh, here's the gig, here's the thing, here's the times," I'd have to double check all the stage, all the spec, all of that technical stuff
That's
anyway.
true, actually. You might have even done that with me, I think. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that you get used to it, and it just is what it is. And I quite like having that call from, because then it gives me peace of mind that someone knows what they're doing when you get there, and
Or not.
all of these things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you got enough mics? Have you
Yeah.
got enough monitors? All the things that you actually take for granted that you should never take for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was kind of used to that anyway, and it wasn't because I was a control freak, far from it. But there is a lot to be said for being in control to a certain point. Where you're sort of like, it's your thing, it's your band, it's your career that's
Mm,
like not on the line, but
mm.
it's a train, and if someone's not steering it all the time, it's going to veer off. So I was quite enjoying the fact that I had an oar in going like, okay, just make sure it's all working all right.
Yeah.
And then the agency went, and then I was like, right. So we went online. We looked like for a couple of weeks, maybe even a few months, of who can we get, who do we want as a manager, who can we have as, and you know what? It was just an empty ocean. It was like there was either the big massive companies or the companies that we already knew that we'd already surpassed. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm,
And it
mm.
was like, well, we really are on a glass ceiling sort of feeling here, like what we're going to do. And just out of desperation, I booked a few things in. And then one day in the van, the lads went, "Oh, you're smashing it, Smoove." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they went, "Well, you've booked all these gigs. Like, sod it. Why don't you just do it? And then we
Yeah.
don't have to give a extra percentage
Yeah.
away." Although they did say, if you ever make a decent amount on a gig, you take a cut.
Mm.
We don't mind. Like that. If the margins are close, then we just split it. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, well, that's cool. If everyone's all right with that. And then I plodded on, and I suppose I got a bit of a buzz when I could see the tour coming together and trying to piece like glue the gaps,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Trying to make
join
it
the
work,
dots.
and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I built up a good relationship anyway with some of the people like yourself and
Mm,
Heath, in various, even just venues itself, not even promoters.
mm,
And then I started realizing, you know what? Maybe I don't need all these promoters. Maybe I just need to speak directly to the venues.
mm.
And I only kept the promoters who I knew were friends who were worth their weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like John said, that there's promoters and there's promoters.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Some just don't do it right, do they? And they're in it for a quick buck. They're not in it to build a brand and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it was nothing against that. The margins were so close,
Mm.
and I was booking the hotels. It was all my money, I was having to deal with all the money coming in, paying everyone out, and then, taking the risk. And
Yeah.
I actually said to the band, I says, look, this is how it is. Like when we had the new book, so to speak, and I went, here's the empty page. This is what we're going to do. Basically, we can all go splits on this, on everything, but you all have to work like your money's worth, like get the gigs, arrange someone can do this, or you can just get paid a straight fee.
Yeah.
And all of them put their hand up, I'll have the straight fee, please. I said, you know what? At least I asked the question, you know what I mean? And that, again, comes back to that family thing. I want people to be happy. I mean, I did up their wage a little bit more. You've got to do it every year, you know what I mean? Just to keep them there, you know what I mean?
No, of
Obviously,
course.
I won't go into what everyone gets paid and whatnot, but, it is that thing. It's like we're playing medium-sized venues, and some nights, it's really close to the bone. And me and John, a lot of times, have took the hit, where we don't take anything. We still pay the band. And then other times we will make a bit more money, so we'll get it back. But me and John own the merch, so we can sometimes rely on that extra bump from the merch. But obviously with what's going on now, you can't do merch, even at socially distanced gigs and all that. So that's pretty much screwed us. We've got boxes of stuff here that it's just sat here for a year now.
Yeah, and I should imagine that your fan base is quite a big merch fan base, and it's the branding's really cool, and you know what I mean. I should imagine that they really do buy into that, and they like that.
Absolutely. I think it's not just the merch though. Like, I mean, everyone bought the vinyl, which was amazing. And a few other things, but it's the meet and greet that they want. They want to have a little conversation with you and get a picture and things like that, like most bands do. You know what I mean? But to our fans, it's super important. Like it's the characters again. It comes down to people want to speak to Mike and John. You know what I mean? They want that.
And you as well, like, Smoove. Don't put yourself down. Come on.
No, I'm usually clearing the stage or whatever. No, I don't mind. No, people do love that, and it is a lot of fun. And that, to be honest, is that after the gig is sometimes the best thing. Speaking to your fans, having a drink at the bar, going to a late bar and sitting down and chilling with some of the fans. It's great. That is the best thing. That is the one thing I miss about being on the road, is the after gig. I don't mean going out and partying and getting absolutely smashed. I just mean a civilized, sit down, relaxed, crack with the band. You know what I mean? That's it. It's I love that. Absolutely love it.
And I should imagine for the fans, it's that some of the artists they're going to be into in the funk and soul arena and the dance arena and all them hip hop and all them styles, which you guys kind of cross over. Some of the bigger names, they're not going to get that, are they? You're not going to go to a club with Nile Rodgers, or do you know what I mean? So
you'd be surprised. That's the amazing thing. It's a bit like actors. You read about these actors who just go out with people, and you're just like, wow, he's a superstar. What's he doing out in Newcastle? You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
As you say, though, it's far and few between. It doesn't really happen, but. Will there become a point if Smoove and Turrell becomes so big that we just go, I can't be arsed with this, I'm going back to my hotel? I'm sure there has been nights like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you do have, especially at a certain point in the tour as well, when you're pretty drained. Do you know what I mean? You can get to that point.
If Mike's hearing this, though, he's going to be like, nah, not me, anywhere. I'm gone now. Mike's amazing, man. Honestly, he's just an iron glove. He's unreal. He goes out, and then we'll all go out, and then all of us, one by one, we fade away into the dark night, back to the hotel room, drop the shoulder, as they say, and and then the next day, we're having breakfast, 9 o'clock, lads, let's meet at 9, we're leaving at 10, and we're having breakfast, and just finishing our breakfast, and Mike walks in the hotel, looking like a drowned rat, like a raved out rat, and I'm just like, Mike, and he's like, all right, lads. I'm like, where have you been? We're leaving. And he's like, oh, have I got time for a shower? I was like, Mike, I've paid for your room. You haven't even used it.
Take
I
it out
love
his
that.
wages. Take it out his wages.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Mike's that kind of he's that in-betweener, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
he's just
completely.
He's just himself.
Refuses to grow up and stop partying. But
That's right. Yeah.
I think out of anyone in the band, he's suffering the most with lockdown because he's just, he rings us up like the other day. He was just saying, "God, I miss you so much." He was just like, it was quite dark. Really, he was like really sort of sad. Like and it isn't so much the party and all that and the drink. Obviously, there's elements of that, but it's the socializing that Mike loved. You know what I mean? It's like. Yeah,
and the buzz as well. I really
live.
do think that, and talking to so many guests, it's like a drug, isn't it?
It is. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's the it is such a drug. It's magnificent. Sometimes when you've done 5 days in a row and you're like, oh God, we're doing this again, and it's just like, but then you come off and you go, like there's so many gigs like. That like burned it in my mind, with just amazing experiences. And I used to always say to the lads, God, if this finishes tomorrow, I would just walk away and go, that was one hell of a ride. But that's actually happened. I mean, who knows what's gonna happen next? But like Boris can't take those memories away from any of us. That's the one thing that I hold on to.
Yeah, no, that's a nice message actually for all your. For anybody listening who's kind of in the same boat as us with not being able to perform and stuff, and actually I'll be honest, and it sounds like I would just say it's something you would say, but I miss the social aspect and the buzz and the drug element, if you like, but not drugs per se, but the drug side of it being a drug. I miss that more than the financial implication. That stresses me out more than the financial loss.
Yeah, it's the interaction that I think humans need, just with each other and the unknown. Like I used to get really off on I'd get booked for a DJ thing and then, I'm like, I'm boarding the plane. I'm not even know where I'm going. I'm like, this is crazy, but it's really exciting. You know what I mean?
Excitement. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Excitement is the word. Yeah, it's just like, life's okay at the minute in terms of, I'm sure you've been being creative, like a lot of us have. You've been in the studio, you're doing different things, like you guys are doing the Northern Coal experience. I've started this podcast, and that's all good, but is anything as exciting as going out on that stage? I don't know, not really.
It's really weird. I've started, like, John was going on about the radio show that we do each week, and he was going, God, like, if it wasn't for this show, then I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah.
And I was sort of, like, a bit blasé about it. I was like, oh, yeah, that's fine, But now I'm starting to think, like, John, I'm like, Friday's coming around. I can't wait. Like, it isn't come around fast enough, although it does come around within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But I really, really look forward to Fridays. And it's not, I only have like three or four cans. That's it. It's not about getting wasted. I love the fact that, like, we're providing a service for our fans. We're interacting with each other and we're playing music. We're talking about the thing we love, and there's what's better than that, and there's nothing else happening through the week.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that we've got to look forward to. But some people haven't even got something to look forward to. You know what I mean? Like my mum, I was speaking to her today. She's got nothing. She's not going anywhere. She's not doing anything. She's safe. She hasn't got financial worries.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have. So I was trying to convince her that, like, look, you're very lucky. You're alive. You're healthy, and all right, you're bored, but it comes back to that thing of it's a state of mind, isn't it? You've got to pull yourself out of this bubble and snap out of it and be creative, or just look at life in a slightly different way. I know it's hard for people, especially if they've got that financial struggle, which is I can't even imagine what that must be like to have no job, can't pay the rent. You've got kids. Just the worry of that must be just astronomical. Like hard to sleep,
Yeah, and the other thing that where my heart goes out to people is where they've got a relative, whether that's young or old, and they've had the virus or they've got the virus and they're not able to see them. I mean, I had it with my granddad, but You know,
Yeah.
it's just that I saw something on the news the other day. There was not to get too depressing, but there was a woman had lost her 31-year-old daughter, and she wasn't even able to go and see her.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. Like I say, it does put it in perspective and make you think, okay, we can't gig at the minute, but you know, some people have got it really, really tough.
Some boy see we gun nuzzle and take with fi choke. Boy you going dead before you see we gun smoke. See we gun nuzzle and take me fi choke. You going dead. Come at me you perform.
I drink my wet not Beck's beer. I stay dressed in slick gear. Peace to my homies in the gangsta lane. I see you when I get there. And it's the fact I keep forgetting my arm reach. I charm freaks and palm geeks who made a Palm Beach. I'm putting rappers in the wheelchair. Together's the villain you still fear. Cause I be hanging in Harlem and shit is for real here. If you battle well you pick the wrong head. I smash mics like cornbread. You can't kill me. I was born dead. And I'm known to pull steel trigs and kill pigs. I run with ill kids and real niggas who peel wigs. My raps are steady slamming. I keep a heavy cannon. It's a new sheriff in town and it ain't Reggie Hammond. Peace to my peoples, the children of the corn. Cause we put it on. Adios, ghost, I'm gone.
So put it on, Big Al, put it on. Come on, put it on, big fella, put it on and on. Big Al, you gotta put it on and on. Put it on, Big Al, put it on and on. What up, you know what I'm saying? My man Big Al, running things for the 9-4, the 908, you know what I mean? And we kick it pre, the full flare, and we gon' put on a little something like this. Big Al, come on.
I need
I don't suffer from any kind of like mental, issues, like for want of a better word, but
Mental health sort of stuff, yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I started feeling something initially when it happened. I was like, what's going on in my mind here? This must be something to do with mental illness, like anxiety. It was just going crazy. That feeling of it's the end of the world. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure most people actually got it and just think, what the hell's happening?
Yeah.
But in the end, I just stopped watching the news. Well, not as much, and then pulled myself around and sort of, I had to refocus things, and it sounds easier than what it is, but I had to, like for my own sanity and sort of just throw myself into music. And some days it's like any day in the studio. Some days you walk away and you go, well, that was a complete waste of a day. Or
I'm never going to get that
days,
back.
yeah. Or some days you go like, wow, if I hadn't have started that idea, I wouldn't have ended up with this.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Far and few between. I find the older I get that the great ideas come far or less. or it's just because I'm very picky. You know what I mean? I think.
Well,
I don't know.
you develop I think you develop a filter over the years. Do you know what I mean? What might have been a good idea to you 5-10 years ago, you think, I've been there, done that now. Come on, we can do better.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? You
yeah,
definitely come
I know.
around to that way of thinking, don't you?
I know. I mean, yeah. Who knows? But that's the creative curveball, isn't it? You just don't know. You know, that's the excitement, I suppose, aspect of like, you know, it can turn out crap or it can turn out amazing.
It's a lottery, isn't it?
Way?
Lottery,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I can't think of another band right now that have got the producer as one of the, you know, part of the name of the band first and foremost, and also on stage performing. You know what I mean? So, and I'll be completely honest with you. I know you were ringing me prior to the first time we booked you and stuff. But I wasn't 100% sure if you were going to be on stage because I didn't know what you did on stage. Does that make sense? And then when you got there, I saw your setup and I thought, okay, that's what he does. So what's your role in terms of live?
It's really weird because initially, obviously, it was studio based. Like that's how it was written. And before I did Smoove and Turrell, I was doing a thing called Smoove Live, which was basically showcasing what I'd done in the studio.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a band. It was just all these different people and musicians all getting together for this, 3 or 4 gigs. I did one in London, one in Newcastle, and a few in 2 other places. But that was it. It was like called a showcase. That was the end of what it was. So, and it was at that point when I found myself behind a pair of decks and some percussion and some samplers and bits and bobs and kind of feeling like a little bit of a loose part, to be honest. And I was thinking, well, do I really? And then Smoove and Turrell happened years later, or morphed into that. And then I was like, what do I want to do? I definitely don't want to stand behind a pair of decks. As much as the lads in the band say, "Oh man, you should get a deck on the stage. You might do a legal scratching
and all that." Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but I'm not interested in that. I don't want to be that token DJ thing. I just don't want to do it. And they were like, oh no, but you're really good at it. I said, yeah, but so what? You know what I mean? Like.
I can picture that argument. I can picture it happening now.
It was only a short conversation because I nipped it in the bud. But basically, I could play a little bit of percussion, like just self-taught. And to be honest, I just blagged it. I just went, you know what? I'm just going to play a little bit of percussion. I'm just going to hide in the corner, and that'll do me.
Yeah.
And initially, there was a couple of gigs that came in, and I couldn't make it. And I sent the band off. I went, oh, you go and do this. You don't really need me there. And John came back and he said, nah, I really missed you. I needed you as my sidekick.
Yeah.
And even some of the members of the band said, no, we actually really missed the percussion element.
Ladies and gentlemen, this group said they wouldn't play, but here's some applause. Let's start applauding now.
Suck the color from my skin. Heaven knows the state I'm in. Without you, it's blue. And I try to turn the music off. Tired eyes have had enough. Without you, it's blue. And seems I thought I had it all. Stepped too far, I took the fall. Nothing won, advantage gained. Just as a numb and bitter pain. Now I know that life is cruel, and I'm the one and only fool. Without you, it's blue. Smoked another cigarette, trying to make my brain forget. Without you, snow, but I still be loving you. Yeah, colors come and colors go, summer sun and winter snow. Yeah, but I still be loving you, my blue. Something color from my skin. Heaven knows the state I'm in. Without you, it's blue. And I try to turn that music off. Tired eyes have had enough. Without you, it's blue. And since I thought I had it all, stepped too far, I took the fall. Nothing won, advantage gained. Just this numb and bitter pain. I know that life is cruel, and I'm the one and only fool. Without you, I'm blue. Seems I thought I had it all. Stepped too far, I took the fall. Without you, without you, without you, without without you, my love, without you now. What will it be? What am I now? Without you, without you, without you, my girl.
Because we toured so much, I played quite sheepishly, to be honest. I wasn't very confident. And then there was like a few compliments came in from various punters. Just, I love the way you play. Like, and one guy in Italy said, "Oh, are you self-taught?" I went, "Yeah," and I thought, "Oh, here we go."
That's not a great
Here we
start, is
go.
it?
And no. And he went, "It's amazing. It's so groovy. It's like you're not playing rhythms like how you would play the conga, but I really like the way you play." And he really genuinely meant that as a compliment.
Like you've got your own style going on. Sort of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But really, I should learn some traditional patterns, but and I still haven't. But there came this horrific gig, and thankfully, I didn't put two and two together. We got there, and in the rush of setting up, the DJ was supporting, and then we did the gig, and he was playing the records, and he played afterwards, and then we finished the gig, and he came down, and I was talking to him. I knew him really well, and we finished. We had a few drinks, and all the fans were there, and they were saying, "Oh, it was great, what a wicked gig." Everyone had a great night. And then I got in the van, and I went, "Oh, I've just realised the DJ he's one of the greatest percussionists. Like I don't know why I hadn't put two and two together, but it was Snowboy. And
Oh,
I
bloody hell.
I should have been shitting myself playing percussion in front of Snowboy.
Yeah, he's the man.
Thankfully, I just didn't even think about it.
Oh, thank God, yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I can think of like trumpet equivalents for me, and I would be absolutely bricking it. Do you know what I mean?
What,
I
like,
love Snowboy.
The Brecker Brothers.
Yeah, that kind of, or who's another one? Winter Marsalis is a big one for me,
yeah,
jazz wise.
yeah.
Or then you go back to your greats, Miles Davis and people like that. But
Yeah.
Snowboy is he's
Oh,
fantastic.
he's way up there for cushion. Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
I love his compilations as well that he does. They're absolutely
yeah.
brilliant. I might be, if you know him well, I might be hitting you up to get a podcast interview with him at some point. Actually,
Absolutely, his knowledge of music is absolutely incredible.
I bet it's encyclopedic, isn't it?
Because he's a percussionist and he was affiliated with acid jazz and all that. People just sort of put him in that box, but there's so more to Snowboy. He's a massive Miami bass fan. You know what I mean?
Is
like,
he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because of the go-go scene and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're all like interrelated, but yeah, his knowledge is incredible, man. So it's definitely worth doing a podcast with him.
Oh,
but anyway,
love to.
So back to what I was saying was the stage thing and performing. As I said, it wasn't necessarily set up that way, and I was actually thinking, do I really need to be there? And then it was the rest of the band who says, no, we definitely. And then I'm kind of glad in a way because somebody needs to babysit them. You know what I
mean? you're kind of the dad, aren't you? You know what I mean? You kind of keep an eye on stuff.
Reluctantly, yeah. I mean, they don't listen to me, of course. You know what I mean? But,
no. Standard kids, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one question I ask music guests when they come on here, because I interview comedians and other performers, but one question I always ask music guests on here is whether they prefer the stage or the studio. And with you, prior to the interview, I thought, well, I almost didn't bother asking it. I thought, he's going to say the studio. He's a studio man. He's a production man. I'm not so sure now, because you seem to absolutely love performing live.
I think I would say, obviously, I'm much more studio based, absolutely, because I mean it's like how I made my trade. I'm a DJ. I'm into sampling, so all of that like weighs heavily on that. But I mean, obviously, you know, everyone will say there's nothing better than walking out in front of a crowd and performing. But it's that. To be honest, it's that thing of it goes back to the bit after the gig. That's what I miss.
Right.
Like the big where you finish the gig, you know it's been a good set. And you know, you chat about your mistakes or you laugh about them or whatever.
Yeah, or cry.
Or cry. That's the buzz for me. It really is. That's when you feel really high. It isn't so much when you're there, because when you're in the moment and you're on stage, you know, you're wrapped up in so many thoughts that you can't even think. You know what I mean? It's like the minute you do start thinking, you start making mistakes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you can go into almost a robotic zone, can't you? In a way, just to try and lock it in. You know.
I think I'd probably, if I had to say, I'd have to say studio, just because of the amount of work I've done in the studio. You know, that for me is where it should be at as well, really.
Yeah. Well, you've led me nicely onto some of my notes, all of which I have to say, Smoove, you've covered so far when you've been talking. So you said about when we got onto Mike Port, you said, well, I knew Mike before John, and on my notes it says knew Mike before John. Ask him about that. I thought, he's done that again. I'll let him take the interview. But in the studio, I was looking earlier. You know, you've worked with some of my favourites, the Third Degree. Miles Sanko is a previous guest on this podcast. The new Master Sounds. I know Heath put me onto them, and they're fantastic. How do you say her name? Kylie Oldest? Is that how you say it?
Oldest, I think it is.
Oldest. I mean, I played that track only the other day on my radio show, and it's an impressive list of names. And do you think that kind of collaboration is the key to moving things forward? Did that do a lot for your profile and for Smoove and Turrell's profile, working with people like that?
Not really, to be honest. I think it's sort of it's nice to sort of feel different flavors and sort of be challenged,
vary it up a bit, sort of thing.
Yeah, and challenge yourself. But I think with Smoove and Turrell, it was more about we were sort of doing our thing and we had our sound, and then we
Mm.
went like, you know, I'm I'm always one of these slightly overcritical, like where like everybody suddenly turned around and went, you know, it's dangerous to be complacent, you know,
Yeah.
in any business, you know, and that was the point where, you know, me and John were DJing lots, where he would sing and I would DJ, and we
Yeah.
were doing loads of those gigs, and we played slightly more harder music, you know, like a bit tougher, and we went,
Bit
why
more
don't we just
gritty sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, why don't we just do this for the next album? And it wasn't just a conversation like that. Obviously, you know, there was a lot of other elements that came into it, like the
Mm.
band. You know, I mean, that changed every dynamic. Like working so close with everybody and writing with everybody was like incredible. And
Mm.
and there's no way that we would have got to where we've gone without those collaborative moments with everybody who's involved with the band.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
even some of the members of the band actually like sat down and wrote like full songs, you know, like Fade Away was like, you know, that was all written by our bass player, you know, and so it's those elements where people are coming to the table. Obviously, then we twist it up and, you know, in a way, almost like remixing it, I suppose. Ultimately, Nile Rodgers said something a while ago where he's a great remixer. He's better at collaborating than he is, or producing, or polishing something than he is actually starting a song. And I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot to be said for that. For me, actually, I think I struggle to get a song off the ground. Once it's going and everyone's involved with it, I'm like, you know, there's no stopping us. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Then you got the
yeah.
vibe going and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the remix thing is just, I don't know what it is. I got into remixing, and I did loads. I mean, like hundreds. And then I sort of went, oh, I could have put all that time and effort in my own album, like as a Smoove album or whatever.
Mm.
So I took my foot off the gas a bit and started like reserving more stuff. But now lockdowns happened, I've kind of gone back to remixing because there's some money at the pot as well. You know, I actually get paid.
Of course, yeah,
So-
yeah. It's quite a steady. If you've got a reputation for it and you've got like a customer base, like a client base, people who want it, then it's quite
Yeah.
a steady thing, isn't it? And you know, this whole pandemic, without going back into it all, it's shown how volatile gigs can be. You know how fragile it all is.
Well, remixes can, you know, you get sent it and they go like, "Oh, do you want to remix this?" And then you got to listen and go, "Could I make this better?" Yeah, okay, let's do it. So I won't always take the work on, even if there's money there. Sometimes I'll say no, that there's nothing I can do with that.
It's
to be
not for
honest.
you, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so it's that thing of like, well, sometimes you get the remix and you go, great, right, here we go. And then you start it and you go, I'm really struggling with this. And this goes on for months. And then you feel really guilty because they're emailing you going, hey, how's it going? And you're like, like, for example, there was, I got this one from Whirlwind D, who's a rapper from Southampton way. And I got it and I tried a few different things and nothing was working and I was really struggling. And it had been ages and he sent us a message and I just had to literally be honest and say, look, I'm really struggling. He went, oh, no, just take your time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like literally the next day, the whole thing just came together and I went like, and you know, it's one of the greatest remixes I've done this year. And I'm like, you know, why is that weird thing happening in music?
Yeah, I know. Just that, like you say, that's a new phrase I'm going to use actually. Like that creative lottery. What's going to happen today?
Yeah.
No idea. No fucking idea whatsoever.
And you know, sometimes you can't force it. You know, you can just drive yourself nuts. I mean, I've been working this week on an instrumental just for my own self. It started out as a re-edit, but I've turned it into my own track. I still don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just looking at the screen making this thing and I'm thinking, is this any good? So I sent it to John and he just went, yeah, that's great. But that could be taken two ways. You know, is he going to work on it? If he doesn't, I'm not bothered. You know, it's sometimes you've got to just do it for your sanity. And just,
you have. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, normally the way we work is, you know, we'll have an idea and we'll start on it. And then if it's not working, we just stop and that's it. It gets, instead of wasting time trying to polish something that isn't going to work, that's it. You know what I mean? We just throw it away.
Don't polish the turd, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah. You can polish a stool, but you can't polish a turd.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah, it's. I mean, one thing that came out of John's interview was And you guys did actually say this to me. I did a radio interview with you when I booked you at Heath's house. We did it on my iPad really quickly, and that was one thing that came out then. But it kind of slipped my mind is that the songwriting process and the remix process and all that. There's a big family of you, even people outside the band. I mean, John was talking about Dr. Rubberfunk a lot and others. There's a big family of you that all come together on these things. I think that's a big lesson in creativity. No man is an island, you know. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the collaboration thing is so important. It really is. You know, it can work wonders. It really can. Like the Izzo Fitzroy thing was just a stroke. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, it was like we were talking about. Me and John had talked for a while. Like, oh, we should do like a female duet with you. Who would it be? And a few names bounced around. We won't mention them. And then all of a sudden, Izzo was signed to Jalapeno, and I was remixing one of our tracks, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
And as soon as John walked in the studio, he went, "Oh, it's just us. I'm just in the middle of remixing this. What do you think?" And he went, "Oh, she's got a great voice. She's the one. She's the one." I went, "You reckon?" He went, "Aye, definitely." And that was it. So we rang her up and said, "Look, John's going to write a song, and you're going to co-sing with him." She went, "Great."
You don't want nobody else. Why can't I see it's true?
If I can't stop just what I'm thinking, what I put that woman through.
I can't see why it is, why I've gotta treat him so bad.
the song wasn't a hit, but that wasn't important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's
you
not the
don't,
goal. Yeah,
yeah, you don't sit down and go like, I'm going to write a hit. In fact, 9 times out of 10, we've sat down and gone, this is nice, and then you finish it, and it isn't until you hear it on the radio that you realise, oh wow, that's a single.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You hear it in context. Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.
if you ever get to that point, anyway.
Yeah, 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 true. I mean, I'm sure. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is they look at like, okay, if you were to take your guys' tracks, for me it would be you look at could have been a lady, Beggar Man, Slow Down. My personal favourite is Hard Work. I got a soft spot for that track. And you look at them, and I bet a lot of people would think, oh, they maybe didn't write many more than that if that's all they know. But actually, there's a whole there's albums and albums left. And outside of those albums, 6 studio albums, I think it is now. Outside of those albums, you've got all the tracks that didn't make the album as well.
Yeah,
you know, there's hundreds, like you say, literally hundreds.
Yeah. Well, they're not even on a hard drive; they just binned. You know.
Really, are you that
Yeah.
are you that ruthless with it? Just not
Yeah.
working. See you later.
We're so close to the bone that, like, when we sit down to write an album, we've got nothing. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
that started from the second album. We had nothing, and it was written from scratch. The first album was like leftover bits that were lying around.
Yeah, you've kind of pulled them together, and yeah.
Yeah. But that's just, I'm talking about ideas, really. At the minute, the band have chipped in loads of ideas, and I just need to sift through it all and see what, like what we can utilize, or what's possible. But we've got, like, at the minute we've already got 3 on the go.
Right.
This is for the next album. We don't even know what that's going to be, or when, or or how.
Yeah, it's all a bit up in the air. Yeah.
But you've kind of, you've always got to keep writing, because it is important. Because if you leave it too long, this is what we found is your fans can forget you very quickly. I know they're loyal, you know what I mean? And if they're listening, they'll probably hate us saying this, but within the space of 2 years, if you don't put something out, they'll just fade away. It's like it's that brutal.
It is, especially in the modern day world of social media and YouTube, and that consumer culture of flicking through news feeds and playlists and all that. It's completely different now, in that you do need to keep a regular pipeline of stuff coming through, even if it's singles, remixes, media stuff, videos. It doesn't all have to be big full albums, does it?
Well, even, like learning about social content and stuff, and how you can, like, overkill it, or as some artists are, like, on our label, the same label, don't do enough. And, it's like, there's a fine balance between getting that right, and not overcooking it, like all the tools that you can use. We've got a guy within the label called Mikkel, who's brilliant. He actually goes on courses, like to find out the latest ways of dealing with Facebook advertising.
Yeah, because it's always changing, isn't it? It's always changing.
Oh, the algorithms are ridiculous, and he's really, really good. And I work with him really closely. We speak to each other at least once a week, and it's a great relationship to have. As John was saying in one of the podcasts before that I heard, it's like the record company is so important to us. People think it's just a tool to release your music. It's not. It's more than that. You know what I mean? Trevor messaged me the other day and said, "Oh, look, we're thinking about doing a gig this time in the year. Are you free?" Like, even those little things, that it can do, they mean everything to us. It's like, or even offering us money if we need it.
Yeah, I couldn't
how
believe
many
that.
record companies would do that? You know what I mean?
I couldn't believe that when John said that. That was a big revelation in the podcast. That I thought, oh wow, you know what I mean? That is, and he well, to be honest, it was a revelation when he said they pay on time or even early. I couldn't believe that.
Well, John wouldn't stick around if they didn't. Trust me. He's got 3 hungry kids.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, just talking about Stratos Bleu, then you kind of set out to make a dance record. Bit of my research coming in here now that you actually had a UK dance chart number 16 back in, was that in 1991? See, I'm good, aren't I? Dubbing up the pieces.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, I was like 19 years old or something, and I'd just been signed to East West Records. It was crazy. The guys who were with me, Tubes and P-Funk, and Some of the other members were in a thing called ASK, went on to be Opus 3. There was a huge bunch of us. It was like a posse, you know, that's what they were called back in the day.
Yeah.
So it was like the Ashbrook All-Stars is what we call ourselves. Because
Yes,
we were all
I've seen that.
living.
Yeah, I've seen that name.
We were all living in Ashbrook, you know, and we pretended that Ashbrook was like a city. So London would go, "Where's Ashbrook?" You know what I mean? Oh, it's in Sunderland, is it? Where's that? Oh, Sunderland near Newcastle. Yeah, that's right. So we did this record. I didn't really have that much to do with the record, to be honest. I was more involved in the touring and the promoting of the record. And I named the B-side, I think, Flip. But it was Tubes, who was 10 years on me, who conceived this whole vision and idea. And I learned a lot from this guy. He was like a mentor to me. You know, he was such a funny kid as well, you know, like really funny. I mean, I virtually moved into his flat. I used to sleep on his couch or like every night nearly, you know.
They really took you under his wing, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, I was rapping. I was the front man in the band as a rapper.
You're a rapper?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
No, so I didn't really want to be. I wanted to make music, and this guy had a sampler, and that's what I was interested in. So I went round like with a demo, and he liked me as a person, and he was looking for a front man. So we ended up like this kind of collaboration where we were joint making the music, and I was writing the lyrics, but and then we got signed again with that project, which was called Ultra Groove, which was signed to Big Life Records. And the only thing that came out of that, we made one record and it got melted down because Boss Skaggs said no to the sample clearance. So there's only 3 copies of that in the world because the 20,000 copies got melted down.
Oh, wow.
And I've got one of them. And then we got asked to remix Digital Underground from America, and we did that in London. And that was that. And we got that on Radio 1 on the Gary Davis show through the day, which was incredible. So that was the height of my career, like back then. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then that was it, really. And then I sort of like faded away into the dark and reappeared 10 years later with my own computer trying to figure out how to sample myself, because I'd never got to grips with the sampling myself. I always relied on other people.
Right,
which was,
okay.
You know,
really,
really frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I worked all summer and saved up enough money for that crap computer I bought for about £500.
Yeah.
That I didn't know how to use, and eventually got to grips with it. But if I hadn't done that, then it would be a very different story. I'd still be relying on people, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. You know, is get. I know I've done a lot of it in lockdown. Is get skilled yourself in order to not have to rely on other people.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? You know, it's definitely a lot to be said for it. But there's also a lot to be said for some. My wife always says to me, some things I say, I need to do that. I don't know. I need a artwork for this, you know, and I'm no graphic designer, but I can get by. But it's an important thing, and she'll go, no, just pay someone to do it. So there is a lot to be said for sometimes just outsourcing things as well, and actually relying on other people. But it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's things that I do, like, you know, with messing around with social media, just stupid, funny things. That's great in itself. But, you know, you bring in like, you know, the team that you're with, like the record company and Jimmy Turrell, John's brother, and John's wife. She did some of the graphics on one of the albums as well on Broken Toys. So it's a real collaboration between a lot of people, and it's having two brains, you know, like where me and John can look at the stuff and go, which sleeve do you want to go with? You know, sometimes you argue about it, but then you go like, you know, if you're unsure, it's great that someone can convince you, you know what I mean, and go, I think this one's right, and you go, yeah, maybe she's right actually. And also, I'm a massive believer in sleeping on it. I love sleeping on it and wake up and you know the answer. Well, generally.
Yeah, there is a lot to be said for that, and I know I can be guilty of not sleeping on it because I want to get things done. I want to move things forward, but sometimes you think, like my dad always used to say to me, is it, you know, what's going to change between now and tomorrow morning? Just sleep on it, have a think about it, you know. And it's so true. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. You know, I just wanted to talk to you about covers, and because I know Smoove and Turrell have done, to my knowledge anyway, you correct me if I'm wrong, that you've done a select few, and I know there's some covers on your solo stuff. Like the top track on Spotify is "I'm a Man," obviously Spencer Davis.
I've always loved that song because my dad used to play it.
Yeah.
But what actually happened was, it was a pure accident. I was a breakdancer when I was a kid, so I sat down to make a b-boy tune, like tough drums, loads of stabs, loads of samples, loads of scratches,
Really got
loads of percussion.
attitude kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like a proper energy song, because I know what it's like to feel hype when you hear that beat and you just want to break. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah.
I want to make one of those. And at the time, I lived above a pub called the Tanner's Arms in Newcastle. So there was a big empty room upstairs that I used to use for like rehearsing. My friend came round. I went, "Come on, I'm working on a strat. Let's go in this room and run round the room and make loads of monkey noises, and we'll record it on the mics." Obviously, I never used that, but it was just this stupid thing that I did because I liked experimenting. I was quite wild, and the guy who ended up playing bass on the demo that I did of that, he started singing. Oh, that's it. I'd sampled the bass line. I won't tell you what it was from. It was quite obscure, and it sounded amazing. So all I had really was the bass and the drums.
Right.
Sometimes that's all you need in
Yeah,
a b-boy
of course.
tune.
Yeah.
But my friends started singing. Well, my pad is very messy. And I went, "Oh, that's that Spencer Davis, isn't it?" He went, "Yeah." I went, "Oh, that's amazing. Let's do that." Anyway, so we laid it down, and then he says, "I can't sing the chorus because there's no key change." I went, "Oh, right. Okay. Come back tomorrow. I'll get it all done up."
Come back tomorrow.
I rang Mike up and I went, "Look, I've got this track. I need these chords put down." And I think Nick Pride did some guitar on that as well, if I remember rightly. And and actually, Nick played the bass on the chorus, not very well, but it didn't matter. So it was like it was enough. So he came back round, but he really struggled with singing the "I'm a Man" chorus. It's so high.
Yeah.
It was probably in his wrong key. Anyway, we managed to get by. That was that version. He was called Dan Roberts, and that was the version that came out on Record Kicks. But actually, Acid Jazz didn't want to put it out. They says, "I'm sick of hearing that song." They didn't see the light in it, and I was like, I was a bit upset, to be honest.
Yeah.
But then Record Kicks heard it and went, "Wow, what's this? I want to license this." So they licensed it through Acid Jazz, put it out on 7, and obviously became like one of the biggest b-boy tunes ever made. I was over the moon. I was, I think I saw this footage on YouTube, which was fairly new then, and it was like France b-boy battle, like the Koreans battling French, I think, in the finals, and I was like watching it going, "Oh my God, there's my tune. That's what it was designed for." I was made up. But
what a feeling.
Anyway,
what a feeling.
So we ended up John loved that the instrumental, because we used to do it in the DJ sets where he would sing it, and then eventually we started putting it in the live shows, which was what you saw. And John said, "Oh, we should re-record that, really." And I was like, maybe it's one day. So then we did. When we did the 10th anniversary, we actually did the updated Smoove and Turrell version.
Super talents of all time.
Smoove and Turrell, make some noise.
I've encountered quite a lot of snobbiness from musicians who are very creative and they're songwriters and they do mostly original material and stuff like that, towards artists doing covers and bands doing covers. And I've encountered it the other way as well, where the purely covers bands, you know, when you're talking corporate and wedding world, they're a bit snobby. What are you doing that original stuff for? You're not going to get anywhere. And both attitudes are wrong. And it's something I want to bust on this podcast. And I've talked about it with many a singer and songwriter, and they're pretty much all on the same page that if it's a good song, it's a good song. If it works on the album, it works on the album. It doesn't really matter.
I think it depends. Like, you got to be so careful what you cover and how you treat it. You know, if you do it wrong or if you do it the same, it's pointless. You know, you've got to totally change it or just make it amazing. I mean, look at that. There's so many great examples. Like Red Wine is a brilliant example.
Yeah,
you know, where UB40 obviously did the cover of it. But it's Diamond, isn't it? Jim Diamond.
Was it? Didn't Tony Tribe do it as well? Tony Tribe, the reggae artist. I've heard a real old school version. I don't know. Was it Jim Diamond originally?
I think Jim Diamond wrote it originally. That's what I found out, because I thought it was a reggae song. That's the one I heard before UB40, obviously. And then apparently I've just heard that Jim Diamond, when he was doing it live, whenever, was doing the UB40 version, which that's incredible. It's a little bit like the sometimes I feel like put my hands in the air. What's that song again?
Oh yeah, feel the love and do you see me through.
What's her name?
Florence and the Machine.
No, the original.
Is that a cover then? That's not Florence.
Candy Staton. Yeah, well, there was a good podcast on the other day. It's like basically Candy Staton wrote the original of that, right?
Yeah.
But she wrote the original lyrics and vocals. It's an a cappella that was used on a bootleg mix over Jamie Principle, like Chicago House track. That's what that do. And it was an instrumental version, and then this guy did a bootleg and put Candy Staton over it, and it works so well. But now Candy Staton does that version live, which is amazing. You know what I mean? It's just the bootleg version live.
Right, but well, I mean, I guess that's, if an artist is doing that, that's a huge compliment to whoever covered it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you want, really, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, the Yazoo one, you know, we did that one. That was really early in the days. Was that not on the first album? I think it was. That was I started that. I had the a cappella of what's her name, Alison Moyer, and I was thinking, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make an 80s song sound like a Starsky & Hutch funk track, you know, like a soundtrack.
Yeah,
with
nice.
wah wah and loads of drums. So I started it, and then John came in while I was mid-flight on it, and he went, "Oh, let me sing that. Let me sing that. Let me sing." So he did, and that's how that happened. Really, that's all that was. It was supposed to just be like a remix of Alison Moyer, but lo and behold, the version that I did with John was, you know, it worked great, and live it used to go down a storm live. In fact, it was in our set for like 7 years or something.
Yes, I mean, sometimes the covers, if you do them, because they've got that air of familiarity for the audience, you know, even though they're your audience, there might be some newbies there who don't know a lot of Smoove and Turrell tracks, and they hear something like "I'm a Man," for example, and it can sometimes just stay in the set for that long because it's a good fan winner, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, both those tracks, "I'm a Man," because the way we've done them, people don't recognise them until it hits that chorus, you know, like
yeah.
And the Yazoo one is quite a weird structure, so it takes a long time to get to the "Can't Stop Now, Don't You Know." And everyone goes, "Oh, it's this."
yeah, that's right. And that it's that moment in it where everyone goes, "Oh," they look at their mate, "Oh, I know this." Yeah.
yeah.
That's it. And I tell you what, Smoove, you have put when we were talking about Red Wine and and I said Florence and the Machine. I'm going to get shot for that, like in music circles. You put me to shame with music knowledge, and I know you've got that Anaraki kind of sort of knowledge of, you know, and that's encyclopedia knowledge of. It's impressive.
Well, it's funny because on the podcast, our friend Felix was talking about this, and he said there's a DJ moment, and even he's done it in life, where you put on the but you put the original on.
Yes.
just to piss off the people and be a bit of a DJ snob. and he said, we've all done it. And I says, well, to be honest, I've had it queued up and then I've changed it the last second.
You lost your bottle.
I've just put the Candy Staten version on. Really, it's really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice one. Well, thank you so much, Smoove, for your time. It's been a great chat. It's really nice to have interviewed both of you as well. I did it the wrong way around, didn't I, in terms of the name of the band? But there you go. And thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate it.
It's fine. You'll have to do Mike next.
You know what? He's coming on. He's definitely coming on. I should have got him on first. I shouldn't have even bothered with you two. I should have got Mike on, really, shouldn't I?
Absolutely.
But
his stories will be so different to ours, or at least his version of the story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. And to be honest, he deserves a place on this podcast. Ever since he fell out the van into hugging me with that rugby tackle, he deserves a place.
Absolutely. You say fell out the van. That reminds me of we got asked to play BBC, and we pulled up outside the BBC in London, and the lads had been drinking all the way down, and slid open the van door, like a slider door, and all the cans and bottles just fell onto the street in front of the security and smashed all over.
Oh shit!
It was so embarrassing. You guys are not coming in here, are you?
I could. That's yeah. A lot of these stories you and John tell, I could just picture it with you lot, to be honest.
I mean, lockdown. Probably we should be writing the book now. But does anyone really want to? Want to know the stories?
Oh no, I think there's definitely a juicy book in there somewhere.
Maybe it's when we've stopped doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, Smoove, thank you so much again, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Yeah, no, that's cool. Cheers for spreading the word and keeping the spirits high.
Nice one. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Thank you so much for joining me for the 30th episode. And a massive thanks to Smoove for his time. I really, really appreciate it, man. And thank you for spreading the word about the podcast as well. And thank you, the listener, for tuning in to the last few episodes in particular. Like I say, the numbers have been great. And we're going to be launching our 6th season with a very special virtual event featuring a lot of my past guests. So to find out more about that and also about a new show that we're launching, please join the On The Road With group on Facebook. For now, though, I'm going to play the show out with Coming Back from Smoove's debut album, Dead Men's Shirts. I'd like to say stay safe. We'll see you very soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.